She was 17. A waitress. Exhausted. Quiet. And they threw her against a police cruiser like she was a threat to national security. Her only weapon? A crumpled envelope of tips and a cherry lip balm. That night, she didn't run. She didn't shout. She just looked at them and whispered, "Please." I didn't do anything. But it didn't matter. To them, a black girl walking home at night looked guilty enough. No witnesses came forward. No manager's call made it through. And in less than 12 hours, a judge would send her away without even letting her speak. What they didn't know was that someone had already picked up the phone. Not a lawyer. Not a protester. Just a voice. Calm. Measured. And very, very dangerous to the people who thought this would stay buried. The faint glow of the street lights cast long shadows across the cracked sidewalk as Imani Brooks walked home from her shift at Frankie's Diner. Her legs throbbed with each step after an exhausting 8-hour shift. The scent of fried grease clung to her clothes, her skin, even her hair, which she had tied up in a bun to keep away from the hot griddles. She exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of her chemistry textbook in her backpack dig into her spine. She adjusted the straps, reached into her jacket pocket, and counted her tips one more time. Crumpled bills and coins, $79.87. Whispering it under her breath, she nodded once. Added to the stash under her mattress that brought her to $212. Still short, but closer than yesterday. She pictured herself on Langston College's campus, warm brick buildings, students with books, freedom in their faces. Then she pictured the application form still unsent sitting on her desk back home. As she passed shuttered storefronts on Devon Avenue, her reflection flitted between darkened windows. Each pane gave back the image of a girl walking alone. Her denim jacket did little against the autumn cold, but she pulled it tighter anyway. Behind her, the buzz of streetlight electricity hummed. Then came another sound. Low. Mechanical. A cruiser. Her breath caught. She didn't look back, refused to. Her pace stayed even, careful. But her ears sharpened, trained on the rumble of tires slow rolling over broken pavement. Not again, she thought. Her mind reeled through last month when a friend got slammed face first for jaywalking. Through all the warnings her mom gave. Keep your head down. Speak softly. Don't give them a reason. But the cruiser didn't pass. Its headlights stayed behind her. Close. Too close. Then came the sharp, mechanical cough of the loudspeaker activating. Her body flinched before the words even came. Hands where we can see them. Get on the ground now. The night exploded with sirens and white light. Imani's shadow vanished beneath her as she froze in place, arms lifted slowly into the glare. Her voice didn't work. Her feet couldn't move. She saw the doors swing open. 2 officers. Fast. One voice barked again, closer, harder. A hand grabbed her arm. Another yanked the backpack from her shoulders. She saw the envelope with her tips flutter to the ground, coins spilling. Her notebook hit the concrete. A page tore. Her lip balm rolled into the gutter. And Imani could only whisper, "Please." I didn't do anything. The siren screamed louder now, blinding white light pulsing against the surrounding storefronts. Imani blinked, paralyzed by the sudden shift from quiet night to chaos. Her arms trembled in the air, palms spread wide just as she'd seen in those videos of people who didn't get to explain themselves. She wanted to scream, to run, to vanish. But her feet stayed glued to the cracked concrete. Down. On the ground now, the voice repeated, sharp, impatient. She slowly dropped to her knees, the cool sidewalk biting through the fabric of her pants. Her backpack was ripped away from her shoulders before she could say a word. Hands, big, gloved, rough, clamped around her wrists and forced them behind her back. She flinched as cold metal dug into her skin. Her cheek met the hot surface of the cruiser's hood, the engine still rumbling beneath. Officer Cole Hargrave towered over her, his pale face expressionless, crew cut unmoving even as he pressed her harder into the vehicle. Suspect matches description of an armed carjacking 3 blocks west, he barked, more to his partner than to her. I was at work, Imani gasped, voice muffled against the hood. Ask Frankie, my manager. Check the cameras. Please. But Hargrave didn't flinch. Save it, he muttered. His gloved hands patted her down without care. Her body jerked with every motion, trying to shrink away. Every coin she'd earned that night spilled across the ground as her pockets were emptied. A tube of cherry lip balm rolled beneath the cruiser's tire. A few feet away, Officer Jared Mason hesitated, standing by the passenger door. His posture wasn't aggressive. His brow furrowed as he watched the scene. He looked younger, less hardened, but he said nothing. Just watched. Imani's eyes locked with his briefly, desperate for any flicker of doubt. Of humanity. I didn't do anything, she whispered again, her voice cracking. Hargrave yanked her upright and pushed her toward the back seat. Her knees buckled. She stumbled. The cruiser door flung open and he shoved her inside like luggage. Her backpack and everything in it, notes, receipts, her little notebook filled with college deadlines, lay abandoned on the sidewalk. Bystanders had gathered now. Not many, just a handful from the corner bodega, one man in a hoodie, a woman with a stroller who had stopped and frozen in place. Some had phones raised, recording. Others just stood, faces unreadable, their silence heavier than the officer's commands. Imani sat rigid in the back seat, cuffs tight, breath shallow. Through the window, she could still see her chemistry book lying open on the ground. Pages fluttering in the wind like they were trying to fly away. Her world was shrinking, collapsing into the back seat of a police car. The doors slammed. They were moving. The street blurred past the window, neon signs blending with the flashing reds and blues. Her heart raced louder than the sirens. Each corner they turned felt like another layer of her life peeling away. She had watched videos of moments like this. News reports. Hashtags. Protests. But now she was inside the frame and she couldn't even speak. The cruiser smelled like vinyl and stale coffee. She sat frozen, cuffs biting into her wrists with every bump in the road. Mason was driving now. Hargrave scrolled through his phone. Not a word spoken. The silence between them was suffocating. When they arrived at the station, the floodlights overhead poured down like interrogation lamps. Imani was pulled from the back seat and marched down a hallway that smelled like bleach and old carpet. Her hoodie was removed. Her shoes taken. She stood on cold tile, her socks damp from some unseen puddle. A flash. Then another. Mugshot. Her name echoed down the hallway, followed by the clatter of a keyboard. Her fingers were pressed onto a scanner, each one, even the pinkies. The ink stuck beneath her nails. No one explained anything. In the holding cell, the cold was constant. The walls were pale green and stained in corners. 3 other women shared the space, one older, one barely awake, one curled into herself, head down. Imani backed into a corner and sat, arms wrapped around her knees. Her shirt was thin. Her lips trembled. Tom didn't move in there. Only the flicker of a faulty light marked its passage. She asked for a phone call. No one answered. Hours later, as the shift changed, a guard muttered, eventually, then walked off. Imani pressed her forehead to her knees, trying not to cry, trying not to scream. She had no idea what time it was. Just that something terrible had happened and no one cared. She wanted her mom. She wanted Zuri. She wanted someone to believe her. But in that room, under that flickering light, all she had was silence. The call had been short, less than 15 seconds. But by the time the courtroom emptied, the tremor was already spreading. That night, under the sodium lights of a tarmac still steaming from evening rain, a black SUV pulled up to the side entrance of the Millhaven County Courthouse. 2 agents stepped out first, earpieces in, eyes scanning. Then came the man the city had only seen on cable news, Attorney General Darius Brooks. He didn't come with cameras. He didn't need to. His presence had gravity. His tailored coat swept behind him as he moved with calm precision through the courthouse hallways, agents flanking him silently. The receptionist didn't dare ask for ID. The security guard at the door looked down at his clipboard, then just moved aside. In the courtroom, Judge Raymond Caldwell had just returned from his chambers when the doors opened again, this time without announcement. The silence inside broke like a surface of still water as Darius stepped through, the weight of the federal government behind every footstep. The air shifted. Even the bailiff straightened. "Release my daughter," Darius said, his voice steady, unhurried, and devoid of negotiation. Caldwell's jaw tightened. "Mr. Brooks," he said, rising slowly, "this is my courtroom. Your title doesn't hold sway here." Darius didn't blink. "Then you won't mind if I take an interest in how justice is being administered in Millhaven." There was something terrifying in how calm he was. The courtroom had never felt smaller. Caldwell glanced at the 2 deputies still holding Imani by the arms. His eyes flicked toward the gallery. At Tasha, still clutching her purse with trembling fingers, at Zuri, who hadn't let go of her phone. "This is highly irregular," Caldwell muttered, trying to control his voice. Darius stepped forward. So was denying her access to counsel. So was sentencing a minor without reviewing surveillance evidence. And so, I imagine, was accepting campaign donations from a private corrections company that operates Bay Ridge Youth Correctional. That last line was quiet, but its impact hit like a stone through glass. Caldwell froze. You don't have proof of that. Darius looked over his shoulder. A young staffer stepped in, placed a file onto the defense table, and backed out again. Darius didn't even touch it. You're welcome to keep denying it. But this case just became a federal concern. The judge's voice fell into a forced calm. Remove the defendant from custody. We'll reconvene when proper motions have been filed. Too late. The cameras outside were already rolling. The next morning, headlines hit every major outlet. Daughter of U.S. Attorney General wrongly imprisoned in Pennsylvania town. Private prison ties to judge under federal review. Mill Haven Courthouse in national spotlight. At home, Imani sat wrapped in a blanket on her mother's couch. She hadn't eaten much. Her wrist still had faint cuff marks. Across the room, Darius sat quietly with a legal pad, surrounded by members of his federal team. Zuri sat beside her sister, fingers glued to a laptop. She wasn't just watching. She was digging. Emails, she muttered. Leaked contracts. Watchdog blogs. This guy's all over them. Darius nodded. Keep pulling. Anything tied to Stratuscore goes into the vault. Imani looked between them. What's Stratuscore? The parent company behind Barrage and 3 other facilities across the state, Darius said. They get paid more when judges send kids their way. More sentences. Longer time. More profit. She felt the cold hit her chest again. So I wasn't just wrong place, wrong time. No, he said. You were part of a system built to crush you. Over the next 72 hours, Mill Haven became a flashpoint. Protesters gathered on the courthouse steps, signs held high, cameras live-streaming non-stop. Caldwell retreated to his chambers, refusing comment. But the walls were closing in. Imani watched it all quietly. She hadn't spoken to the media. Not yet. Darius didn't push her. But the legal team pushed forward fast. Files that had been misplaced suddenly resurfaced. Time card entries from Frankie's. Security footage from the diner's back kitchen. Statements from 2 co-workers. But the real crack came when a clerk, young, underpaid, overlooked, sent a message through an encrypted inbox. It contained scanned copies of internal memos. One of them, a handwritten note from Caldwell referencing monthly targets tied to youth intakes. The memo was damning and real. Zuri cross-referenced it against Barrage's intake records. The numbers matched perfectly, monthly spikes in convictions aligned with private funding payouts. On day 4, Darius made a final call. Maya, he said into the phone. It's time. Maya Sterling had won awards for her reporting on corporate corruption. But what made her dangerous was her refusal to flinch. By midnight, her exposé hit every platform. The business of incarceration. How a town sold its children to a private prison. It featured voice-blurred whistleblowers, pay stubs, internal memos, footage of Imani being shoved into the cruiser. Imani watched it unfold from the couch. The footage was hard to watch. Her own fear, her own voice. But when Maya's narration turned to her, it changed. Imani wasn't a victim. She was the face of something deeper, something people couldn't look away from. By the next morning, Judge Caldwell was in hiding. Stratuscore issued a statement denying all wrongdoing. The governor's office called for a full investigation. But for Imani, it didn't undo what happened. That night, she stood on her front porch with her mom and Zuri. Reporters still crowded the sidewalk. But for a moment, no one said a word. I just wanted to go to college, she whispered. You still will, her mother said softly. And behind them, Darius stood quietly, staring out at the city where his daughter had nearly been erased by a signature. He wasn't going anywhere. Neither was the fight. The halls of Barrage Youth Correctional were not built for reform. They were built to contain. Concrete floors, narrow windows, fluorescent lights that hummed without pause. Imani walked through them in cuffs and state-issued shoes that rubbed blisters into her heels. No one looked her in the eye. Not the intake officer. Not the guards who escorted her. Just keys jangling. Doors buzzing open. Then closed. Her cell was cold. The mattress thin, the blanket thinner. Her roommate, a girl with braids and tired eyes, barely looked up. "Name's Tasha," she muttered. "Keep your stuff close. Don't talk to Burke. Don't fight unless it's worth it." Imani didn't ask what that meant. She would learn soon enough. The next morning began at 5 a.m. Steel-toed boots on tile. Shouts down the hallway. They were herded to the cafeteria like cattle, no speaking, no lingering. The food was gray. The water lukewarm. One girl got shoved for sitting too slow. Imani kept her eyes low. Burke was a presence. Towering, red-faced, and always pacing. He didn't yell often. He didn't need to. He looked at you like he was waiting for an excuse. And he found his with Imani on her third day. It was a tray. She hadn't pushed it fast enough into the slot after eating. Burke grabbed her by the collar and slammed her against the wall so hard her head whiplashed. "Think you're special?" he spat. "You're nothing here." Her ears rang. Her vision blurred. But she didn't cry. Back in her cell, she shook so hard she couldn't undo the buttons on her jumpsuit. Tasha sat beside her, arms folded. "They'll try to break you. They broke me once. You just gotta wait." "Wait for what?" "For someone out there to remember you exist." What Imani didn't know was that someone already had. While Darius fought the political war outside, another name surfaced. Nathan Brody. A former Bay Ridge guard dismissed quietly 2 years ago. He had seen things. Reported things. And been buried for it. Now he was ready to talk. Elliot Warren tracked him down in a trailer outside Harrisburg. Nathan looked older than his age. Greasy ball cap, nervous hands, bags under his eyes. But when Elliot asked about Burke, Nathan didn't hesitate. "I saw him knock out a kid once. No camera angle caught it. They said the kid fell. Internal report vanished the next day. I kept logs. Didn't matter. Do you still have them?" Nathan nodded. "Locked away. Along with footage from the visitation hallway. I made copies before they wiped the servers." Elliot's breath caught. "Would you testify?" "If it means getting that place shut down," Nathan said. "Hell yes." Back at Bay Ridge, something changed. Burke watched Imani closer now. He knew her name. Knew she had lawyers. And that made him careful but not silent. He muttered under his breath in line inspections. He accidentally kicked her bunk during count. One night, he pulled her out for a random search and let her stand barefoot for 20 minutes on freezing tile. Tasha watched it all from the bunk. Quiet. Calculating. Then one day, Burke slipped. He grabbed Imani's arm too hard in the corridor just as a junior nurse turned the corner and froze. Her name was Julia. She didn't say anything. Not then. But 2 days later, she asked to speak privately with the warden. And 2 days after that, Elliot got a call. The evidence Nathan provided was airtight. Timestamped logs. Contraband lists altered post-entry. Security footage showing Burke dragging a girl by her collar off camera. Combined with Julia's report, it was enough. Darius filed a federal injunction. Bay Ridge had to comply. Imani didn't know it was happening until the day they came for her. 2 U.S. Marshals walked past 3 guards and unlocked her cell. Tasha stood ready to fight, but Imani held up a hand. "It's okay." As she stepped out, she turned to her cellmate. "Thank you for watching me when no one else did." Tasha didn't smile. But her voice was steady. "You keep fighting out there. That's your part now." Imani nodded, then followed the marshals into the light. The release wasn't quiet. Cameras waited outside the gates. Microphones thrust forward. But Imani didn't speak. Not yet. She hugged her mother. Held Zuri tight. Let Darius wrap his arms around her like a man afraid to breathe too soon. Later that night, the footage aired. Burke was arrested. So was the assistant warden. Bay Ridge was placed under federal review. And Caldwell, already disgraced, was now officially charged with conspiracy and abuse of power. But Imani didn't care about that. She stood in her room, alone, staring at her old notebook on the desk. The one with Langston College deadlines. She ran her hand across the cover and opened it. Then she turned to the final page and began to write. Imani didn't rush back into the world. Her body came home before her spirit did. The rhythm of the outside was too loud at first. Doors that didn't clang, voices that didn't bark commands, clocks that didn't dictate survival. But over time, it softened. The bruises faded. Her breathing slowed. She kept a routine. Mornings started with reading law, ethics, landmark cases. Afternoons were for movement. Long walks through the neighborhood, headphones in, sunlight on her face. And in the evenings, she wrote. Not just notes, but whole essays, testimonies, arguments, pieces of herself stitched back together in words. Langston College accepted her with a scholarship funded by a national criminal justice initiative. Her name had weight now, but that didn't make it lighter to carry. Every classroom reminded her of the ones she never got to finish. Every late-night study session echoed the silence of her cell. But she kept going. In her third year, she interned at the Justice Reform Coalition, where she helped review legislative language around youth incarceration. One day, her supervisor handed her a thick file and said, "This one's yours." It was a class action suit. Survivors of Barrage. 52 plaintiffs. Imani stared at the names, then saw her own at the top. Not just a client, a co-lead. She didn't sleep that night. The day of the first hearing arrived on a crisp autumn morning. The courthouse in Harrisburg looked different than the one that broke her, but the scent of polished wood and old paper was the same. In the front row sat Zuri, Tasha, and Darius. Imani stood behind the podium, flanked by a team of young attorneys she had helped train. She adjusted the mic, took one breath, and began. "My name is Imani Brooks. I'm not here just to speak for myself. I'm here for every child who entered that system without a voice, for every family silenced by bureaucracy, for every file that disappeared, every bruise that was called discipline, and every dream traded for a prison bed." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. We were told we were broken, that we were burdens, but we were brilliant, and we are still here. A pause. No one moved. The system wasn't just flawed. It was profitable. And now we ask this court to make it pay. When she stepped down, the room stood with her. Zuri reached for her hand. "You sounded like Dad," she whispered. Imani smiled, eyes wet. "No, I sounded like me."